Podcasting from the Chicagoland area, this is Game On with Jackson Stuart, where we discuss men's lifestyle, focusing on sex, fitness, relationships, business, and more. We'll be interviewing the best of the best, the hot shots, and the rising stars in the worlds of modeling, fitness, cooking, and more. Influencers who are discussing keeping it sexy while at the top of their game. I'm your host, Jackson Stuart. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the game.
This is Dale Valor.
This is Pamela Ross.
This is Trinasia.
And you're listening
to
Game On with Jackson Stuart.
Game On with Jackson Stuart.
Game On with Jackson Stuart. Killing them!
Good people, sexy people, welcome to another episode of Game On with Jackson Stuart. I'm your host, and as always, I really appreciate you guys taking time out to check out the show. Some housekeeping, or at least reminders, catch me on YouTube at Game On with Jack, patreon.com/Game On with Jack, the blogs at gameonwithjack.blog, Twitter, same handle, and of course, check out the player shop, gameonwithjack.shop, S-H-O-P, releasing some more ebooks this week, so check them out. Great sale, great tips to be a great you. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed last week's show. We talked to Phil Dunlap. We've got more guest interviews coming up. So if you're tired of hearing just me, you bastards. No, we got people coming in talking about fitness, sex, finances, all the things you want to talk to mom about. But good stuff. Today's show, keeping with the theme of great shows, we've got Ask Jack. You guys send me questions, ask me questions. You hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. And I like to make sure I answer your stuff. So I enjoy these shows, and I hope you guys do too. And let's get it. So first question up comes from Real Name 5 from Instagram. Real Name asks, what steps can men take to improve their mental health and well-being? Damn, good question right out the gate. First and foremost, let me pull out this disclaimer. Folks, I'm not a doctor, okay? Not a therapist, but I'm just coming at you from life experience, how to rank up, how to be a player, all that kind of stuff. So I want to make sure, we get that covered. Any, mental, physical health, spiritual health, always consult with an expert, doctor, counselor, therapist, psychiatrist, minister, priest, rabbi, whatever it is. So take this all with that disclaimer in place. So anyway, Real Name 5, what steps can men take to improve their mental health and well-being? I have found that most men who keep their, who keep their mental health, quote unquote healthy, one, they have just as much as they have a regular doctor, they have a therapist that they go see on a semi-regular basis. Obviously when you're going through stuff, you might be seeing this therapist more often, but when it's just normal standard life, they go in for a checkup. Maybe they go once every couple months, once a year, just to see how their mental health is doing. Staying positive, keeping gratitude journals, staying in the moment, practicing wellness, practicing being here right now also helps with well-being. A lot of guys I know keep their minds engaged, especially as they get older. So they do things like, puzzles, they read constantly, they don't overindulge in things that can shut down the brain's functions in terms of just like watching constant social media, watching movies all the time, watching TV. I mean, those things, everything in moderation, awesome. Everything in harmony, awesome. But you want to make sure you do things to keep your brain connected, right? To keep it moving. Your brain and your mental health are very much like your body. If you leave your body still too long, sedentary lifestyle, shit's going to come back to bite you. So, have a mental health expert, have a doctor for how you feel, and therapist, counselor, etc., and also keep your brain engaged. So hope that helps. Next question, anonymous from Twitter. How can men develop stronger and more meaningful relationships with their family members and friends? Oh, all right, man. I think Ask Jack is going to be a lot shorter show now. No, just kidding, because these are great questions. They're just making me think. One of the key ways to build good relationships is to make sure your side of it is good, right? So, one of the key aspects or core aspects of a relationship is like you got each other's backs. You're there for each other. So you want a good relationship with your brother or sister or mom or dad, whatever, be there for them. And that's not always like, oh shit, mom had a flat or something like that. It's calling to check up on people. Even if you know nothing's wrong, like, hey, bro, I haven't talked to you in a little bit, just checking up, sending texts, sending emails, having regular communication, even if it's just a silly text, like, hey, I saw this meme, thought of you, whatever. So relationships don't always have to be so serious. And, it's like, we're always there together in times of crisis. That's great. But if you're only there when things go bad, you become a relationship firefighter. You just become like the break glass in case of emergency family member. And you start to feel that. So you want to love these people too. So if you want a stronger relationship, be the stronger relationship, guys, engage in regular communication. And eventually it gets a life of its own. So communicate with them often. Be honest, don't cheat, don't take shit from them. Spend more time listening to your family than talking to them. Okay, so if you're going to get together for dinner, or when was the last time you and your brother, sister, or mom or dad, got together and had a drink? Like, hey, you want to go grab a beer? Nothing's wrong. Just want to hang out with you. And if you ask them a question, how they're doing, like, listen. Okay, don't wait to talk and don't wait to judge what they say. All right, so I think those are some key tips. Anonymous, great question. And I applaud the fact that you want to build some stronger, more meaningful relationships with your family. Number Ninja 88 on YouTube asks, what are some effective strategies for managing stress and anxiety in men's daily lives? Ooh, I can't wait to hear this answer, because sometimes I'm a bit of a stress magnet or stress bucket. Okay, so some key bullet points. Number one, get your doctor involved, or if you don't have a doctor, get one, because stress can kill. Stress can damage your body. You want to make sure that you are as healthy as possible. And if there's anything that's going on with your overall wellness, you want to get in front of it as fast as you can. So that's number one. Get a doctor. Number two, get a doctor for your mental health, right? Because stress is often triggered by things we're going through emotionally, and then the repercussions hit us physically. So number one, get a medical doctor. Number two, get a therapist or a psychological doctor, counselor, psychiatrist, whatever. I mean, obviously start with the therapist first and you can go from there. But also there are some, steps you can do to handle your stress. One, exercise. Two, get back in touch with nature, even if it's like a 5 to 20 minute walk every day. Three, look for the things that trigger your stress. If it's a certain person and you can avoid them somewhat, avoid their ass. Don't hang out with people that spin you up. Avoid situations that stress you out. Meditation, key, right? Meditation is very important. Practicing wellness, being in the moment. A lot of our stress and anxiety is, either focus on what's in front of us that hasn't even happened yet and may not even happen, or what's behind us that did happen and it went bad and we're still dwelling on it too much. So, medical doctor, therapist, then steps like exercise, meditation, communing with nature again. Also stress and anxiety, cut back on some of the chemicals, guys, cut back on the booze, cut back on the smoking, and practice wellness, being in the moment, and practice a lot of self-forgiveness and self-care. And these kind of fall under self-care, but Practice it, practice it, practice it. Very important. Nick Gomez on YouTube. What role does physical fitness and exercise play in improving men's health and longevity? Nick, physical fitness and exercise are absolutely positively giant roles in your health and longevity. And I'm glad you asked those 2 points, health and longevity, because you live to be 100, but what if the last 20 years of your life are just fucking miserable because you've, heart disease or high blood pressure or stroke or whatever, diabetes have just taken the quality of your life away. So longevity is one thing, but health is something else. And you want both. That's the goal, right? That's optimal. Physical fitness and exercise, very important. And I've quoted this before, but Jamie Foxx, the actor, the comedian, the musician, had a great quote. I believe it was Men's Health or Men's Journal. And he's talking about when he's in his 20s, he's trying to get those beach muscles, right? This chiseled chest and this six pack and giant biceps. But as he was in his 40s, and now Jamie Foxx is 50, but you wouldn't know by looking at the guy, he looks phenomenal. Excuse me. He wasn't trying to build beach muscles. He was injury proofing his body. And, that's the natural progression. When you're in your teens and your 20s, you're out there trying to be, Mr. Olympia looking like some kind of cover model. As you hit your 30s and 40s, especially your 40s and 50s, you're injury proofing your body. You want to build a machine that can endure sickness, that can endure falling, that can endure picking up your kids, your grandkids, your spouse, whatever it is. So they are instrumental. If you don't have a physical fitness and exercise plan, I recommend, if you go to a gym, talk to the gym staff. They typically have lots of recommendations they can give you. Join a club, check out different classes, look at what your previous physical fitness regimen has been. So if you were a heavy lifter and heavy lifting is still good, ease back into it if you've been off of it for a little bit. Look towards focusing on things like, high intensity training, kettlebells, building your cardio up. But whatever you do something and do it safely. And of course, with physical fitness, and I'm going to say this a lot, go get a physical before you jump back into a workout routine or change a workout routine drastically. Because if you've got some unknown cardiovascular issues, you want to make sure all that stuff gets, laid out in front of you before you get laid out. So great question, Nick. Appreciate you. Cosmic Explorer. How can men prioritize self-care and establish healthy habits in their daily routine? By making it a priority. And it's hard to do that sometimes. It sounds kind of stupid, like, oh man, what do you mean it's hard for guys to make themselves a priority? I mean, real men. Now, I'm not talking about boys in men's bodies who only think about themselves, narcissistic assholes, that kind of thing. But real men who have families and friends and work, and they're trying to balance it all out and build a lifestyle harmony. A lot of times they let themselves, fall last on the list of importance. And you can't do that. Because if you've built a life, at the core of that life is you. So if you fall off and drop dead somewhere or get sick, everybody who wants you in their life now has to figure out how to live without you or live with you in a diminished capacity. So, how can you prioritize it? By making yourself a priority. I'm a big fan of listing shit out. So make a list of what you do every day. And whatever that number one thing, if it ain't your physical fit, if it isn't your self-care and you're in a healthy habit for you, boom, make it number two and put some type of self-care in there. What works for me is I shave off 15 minutes every morning by waking up earlier. And sometimes, I shave 15 minutes at night. Sometimes I stay up a little bit later, but getting up earlier, let's take 10 minutes. If you get up 10 minutes earlier every day, you've given yourself an extra hour in the week. That 10 minutes, you can meditate. That 10 minutes, you could keep a gratitude journal. That 10 minutes, you could, watch motivational videos. You could read a book. So, little things like that you can do. But Cosmic, great question. If you're not already implementing self-care, make sure you do so. This comes from 123 Techie on Twitter. What are some key financial skills that man should develop in order to achieve greater stability and success? As with all these questions, I'm a big fan of getting in front of a professional to look at where you are. That having been said, I'm a big fan of like multiple streams of income. Just don't have one job. Don't have just one way you're making money. Now, I say that I'm not telling you guys to go out there and work till you drop dead with 5 different bosses, but you got your core job, right, that pays you, looking to build in some type of passive income, whether that be real estate, whether that be digital products, whether that be investments. But, I know, especially if you look at the Ramsey school of thinking in terms of just, make money, save so much in this pot, so much in this pot. That's kind of old school thinking. And I'm not knocking it. But the newer school of thinking is grind, make money, build multiple streams of passive income. Make so much money that you can't spend it all. Emotionally, work on forgiving any mistakes you made in the past with money. Holding on to those regrets are just going to bring you down. If you got to cut back on spending, which we all could spend a little bit less, look at what you can cut back without being miserable. Because life can be short and you work for a reason. And, not having Starbucks every other day is not going to make you a millionaire, but it could make you happy. So, I think another key financial skill is read up on what's going on with finances, educate yourself and treat your financial well-being like any other part of your health. Take care of it, respect it, understand it, forgive it. And I think if you follow those, you'll find other paths that will appeal to how you can be more financially successful and achieve stability and success. But like with your brain, I don't think we should ever consider like, I'm going to get to this age and just retire and have enough to just live off of. No, I think money is like blood. It likes to flow. It likes to move around. So look at the idea of changing careers until you drop dead. I mean, and I don't mean you want to work until you're dead, but like, why should we ever just look to just sitting on our asses in a rocking chair while we're watching the sunset, both physically and metaphorically, when you could maybe not be working 40 hours a week or whatever you work, but you could maybe consult, still have some type of income coming in, have passive income coming in, like keep it flowing until you can't. So hope that helps out. 123 Techie. Kyle S comes to us from Instagram. How can men overcome societal expectations and gender stereotypes to pursue their passions and interests? Great question, Kyle. I think the key in that is, so it seems like society as a whole is always behind the individual. So let's say your passions and interests might fall in line with something that most people consider more feminine. Okay. And I'm not being disrespectful, so please understand it. So let's say you want to be a stay-at-home parent, which has changed a lot. There are stay-at-home dads, but let's say you want to be a stay-at-home dad, which still to some degree is looked as, well, that's just what moms do, not dads. But okay. Yeah, that's old thinking. Anything you want to do that you feel like there's going to be a pushback about you as a man doing it. Number one, if you don't have to tell people you do it, don't. Because one of the quickest ways to kill your dream is to share it with everybody. Because not everybody's going to think like you. It ain't their dream. And, dreams are fragile at certain phases of their existence, and the wrong word from the right person can totally shut you down. So protect it. If you ain't got to share it with everybody, excuse me, don't do so. Work it until it's so successful that once it does come out, stereotypes and expectations no longer apply. So, for example, let's say you want to be a ballerina or a nurse, and there's tons of male nurses. But nurses still, I think people expect a woman to show up when they say, hey, I want to see a nurse. Or a ballerina. I mean, I know there's male dancers, but all right, let's say you want to be a nurse. You become such a good nurse that nobody's ever going to go like, oh man, that's a guy, that's a nurse. And they're going to say that person is a freaking lifesaver. Okay. So people can try and argue with success, but they typically don't. So to answer your question, men overcome expectations and stereotypes by doing their passions and interests regardless of what society says. And sometimes in the shadow of society's knowledge, and they do them to the point that no one can argue with success. Now, if you have people in these passions and interests that support you, spend more time with them than you would spend with people that won't support you. And I hope that helps. I know it's tough sometimes. Like, guys aren't always into oh shit, I'm into like football and cars and guns and beer. Like, guys are multifaceted, and in real talk, I'm a damn good dancer. I've gone to dance classes 1,000 years ago, but I got good at it. There weren't always a lot of guys in these dance classes. There was a lot more females than there were males, and that worked out to my advantage so many times. But I'd catch some shit like, oh dude, you're going to dance class, whatever. But I didn't tell everybody I was going, and the people that were there, I hung out with them and made lifelong friendships. So, guys, we are as complicated as women are. We have varied tastes, and we have varied passions and interests. And so, we have to wait for society to catch up. That doesn't mean that we have to wait to enjoy our lives. So I hope that helps. Anonymous writes in, what are some effective communication tools that men can use to build better aspects at work? I'm assuming aspects means like probably relationships and okay. At work is very much like, if you're dealing with your family, don't be a dick. Say good morning to people, say hi to people before you ask them to help you out, even if it's their job, even if they're the help desk, or if they're the budget people, say hi to people, talk to people. Find out about your coworkers when you don't need them. Okay. So if I'm going to go talk to Bob down there in supplies and just ask him how his weekend was. You don't need anything from Bob today. You don't need anything from Bob this whole week, but you're going to go find out about Bob. And that's going to make Bob go, hey, that guy he's not a dick. He actually cares about people. So if you want a better relationships at work, the most effective communication skills can be to listen, to respect, to greet, and to express gratitude. Somebody helps you out, thank you. Somebody gives you a minute of their time, even if the answer is I don't know, or the answer is no. All right, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. If you call a meeting or there's a meeting you have to get to, don't be late. Because being late is disrespectful. It's like, fuck your time. My time is more important. If it's unavoidable, then when you walk into the meeting, and I love this, don't apologize. Say, hey guys, thank you so much for being patient. I got caught up with something. Because I'm so sorry I'm late is not as empowering as giving people gratitude. Like, thank you for being patient and waiting for me. So I hope that helps. 2 more questions. We got time for just kind of going through some. Okay. Great question. How can men cultivate a sense of purpose and meaning in their lives, both personally and professionally? This comes from Ice Dragon 66. Ice Dragon, one of the keys I would suggest to cultivating a sense of purpose and meaning, sit down, piece of paper and a pen, and ask yourself, what speaks to you? You know, look back at your past. What has made you happy? What has made you fulfilled? Has it been volunteer work? Has it been spending time with family members? Has it been, maybe hobbies that you've done, like painting or art or music or whatever it is? It's a good chance you have already encountered things that have given you purpose and meaning. And you said professionally, well, were there certain projects or certain jobs you've had that made you happy, that gave you a path towards happiness? Because we can only really make ourselves happy, right? But gave you a sense of fulfillment. Make a list and revisit that list, and then start to see how those feelings can be expanded into new adventures, new places, new people, new ways to go back and, I hate to use the word recapture, but new ways to go back and grasp and re-experience those senses of purpose and meaning. Last question comes from Player One on Instagram. What are some practical tips for men to achieve a better work-life balance and avoid burnout? Oh man, hell. I need to be listening to the answer to this one. Player One, practical tips to avoid burnout. Listen to your body, listen to your emotions. So basically, how do you feel? If you feel worn out and exhausted physically, check your burnout, check your work-life balance. If you feel emotionally irritable, drained, if you've lost a sense of accomplishment and achievement, yes, you just heard the loudest zipper on a backpack ever. Check your work-life balance, check your burnout. So yeah, you are basically like your own canary in the cave. And where that comes from is like way back in the old days when miners would be working in caves, and to make sure they weren't in the presence of dangerous gases, they would have a canary in a cage. And if they looked over and the canary was dead, they knew how to get the hell out of there, because the canary was breathing, bad gases and he was dying. They're like, shit, we got to get out of here. So you are your own canary in the cage. You are telling you if you're experiencing burnout, if you're getting irritable, if you're losing a sense of, achievement in your job, in your life. So listen to yourself, and listen to people who care about you, know you well, and that you trust. They got to be all three. They got to care, they got to know you, and you got to be able to trust them, because they may be seeing signs of your burnout and your imbalance with your work and your regular life that maybe you don't see. And lastly, once again, make a list and look at the last time you did some different things. And if you want to shake them up, it'll be right there in front of you in black and white or blue and white, whatever the color of the paper and the ink. But, I haven't taken a vacation in 10 years. I haven't visited my favorite cousin in, 6 years. I haven't been to a movie in 4 months, like whatever it is. And, then you'll get a chance to see if you really are out of balance. But it's a good chance you already know. And the tips like I gave you before will help to indicate it. And to resolve it, take time off. Like the previous question, find what makes you feel purposeful and do it. Exercise, meditate, and take care of yourself. And remember that too, this work-life balance, much like a seesaw, is a constant adjustment practice. And also, I don't believe in balance, I believe in harmony. Nothing's ever 50-50. But harmony is achievable. So Guys, hey, that's my time. I really enjoy these, and I had some leftover questions, but I wanted to keep the show to a half an hour or just about, so there will be an Ask Jack follow-up. Speaking of follow-up, follow me on YouTube at Game On With Jack, patreon.com/Game On With Jack, Twitter, TikTok, and the blog, GameOnWithJack.blog and GameOnWithJack.shop. You guys keep it sexy and game on.